this be the story that we tell? Looking back on all the things we lost, there's no one to blame, no hearts to hate. It's just us here, just speaking, don't you fear?
Hey guys, welcome to Surf and Show. I'm Noel Salas, and today's surfboard review is on the Akila Aipa 5.3 fish. Now I'm super stoked. Akila Aipa came in from Hawaii, an old acquaintance of mine. Akila, so stoked to have you, man.
Pleasure to be here.
We're super pumped. Now, I have a little bit of a history with Akila, and for me, Akila is first a surfer / shaper, because that's how I met Akila. I met you on tour, and watching you surf, learning a little bit about your dad. I mean, your dad's a legend. The history of basically your family is pretty awesome. So, welcome to the show. Thanks for participating, sending the boards down for review, but why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself first, kind of like your history with your dad and that kind of stuff, and stepping into shaping from the surfing perspective.
Gosh, just lucky, like I said, growing up in the time with my dad and what was going on, the evolution of shortboard design and the boards evolving, and the people he got to work with. Just so neat seeing, having the people in our homes and our lifestyle, and watching those guys evolve surfing and surfboard design with my dad because of what they needed and what their surfing demanded. So
sure.
Definitely a special time in surfing, and lucky to be a part of it and have that foundation from my father. Very fortunate.
That's epic. And then tell us a little bit about like maybe your first board, like you started shaping.
1987, waiting for my dad. Like I would wait for him at the factory so we could go surf, and I just got tired of waiting, so I just jumped in the room and went at it, and I don't know, and never looked back. So yeah, I'm thankful that my dad is such an awesome shaper, and he gave me the foundation and the tools and the education to mow foam and get what I want out of it. And
awesome.
Super stoked.
This is a little intro for how I found you again. So I saw Felipe Toledo drop a little edit or a couple waves of him shredding on a twin fin, and I saw your logo, the Aipa logo, and I started poking around a little bit, talking to friends in the industry, and everybody's saying, if you want to ride a sick twin fin, you got to get a hold of Akila. And I know that's embarrassing as we talk, but the bottom line is that's how it happened. Then I direct messaged you, haven't seen you in over 20 years probably, and then we just connected, and you started asking me questions about what I'm doing, where I'm surfing, what kind of boards, what am I looking for, X, Y, Z. And then I thought, hey, what do we do a couple boards? And you had some ideas, multiple conversations, and you came up with, let's talk about the 5.3 fish first with the double bat tail. So when you shaped it and sent it to me, I'll just tell you my immediate experience when I held the board. It has a different outline than most twin fin or 2+1 setups. I looked at the wide tail and I thought, okay, it's gonna be fast down the line. It's gonna project well. That surface area is gonna really make small mushy waves fun. But then the negative side in my mind, you'll have to forgive me for going this way, is that a lot of times super wide tails like that don't perform well in the pocket. So that's just what happened in my head. I'm not saying that's how the board performed, but that's what was going on when I first initially touched it. So you have it set up for me in a 2+1 setup, right? Yes. You send some extra fins, and we'll talk about that later. But why don't you walk us through my negative thoughts on wide tails and why yours is different, because this board did not perform like my thoughts were.
Well, wide equates to speed, right? It's that surface area. Now, speed is good, but if you can't use it, what good is speed? Right. So we want to be able to change the direction. You need pivot, and the design is push once we ride it, and we're looking for a certain feel. We're going to push the envelope with the design instantly. So after I rode the fish with the large swallow, I wanted more pivot, because like you said, there's a lot of area back there, and if it's not working with you, it's working against you. Sure. Or it's just there. And the reaction time in between turns, that lag time, is not very fun. So we wanted it to stay with you and react and respond. And like you said, a lot of tails back there are so wide, they don't give you that sensation. Right. So I wanted to eliminate that extra three or 4 to 6 inches of swallowtail and eliminate it. And that pushed the pivot point up. And also, if you think about a fin placement, if you place it off the tail mark, it's pretty much around here where my placement would be, and that also pushed it up. So it brought the whole pivot point further up on a board and a tail that usually you'd be surfed further off the back. So now the design, we're surfing further up forward on the board, which increases the pivot up there because it's not so tail wide or heavy
right,
or engaging.
Right.
So with me minus all that surface area, what does that create? Pivot.
Sure. Okay, so let's talk about the pivot since we're on that spot with this board. When I put it in that 1 to 2, maybe shoulder high surf, it was so quick in transition from turn to turn. I felt like I could get it in the pocket real quick. One of the things that I always talk about on the show, especially in groveler type boards, is that I want agility in really small transitions. So if I'm surfing a wave this big and I want to surf it in the pocket, if the board's too long, I can't project down through my turns without having to lean back so I don't pearl the board because they don't have a lot of rocker.
Well, it's also the length.
The length,
anything
exactly.
Over 5 something, you think of a wave this big. Here's your transition. Your
right.
transition is tiny.
Right.
It's almost a quarter pipe.
Sure.
How is a 6.0 or 5.10 going to fit in that?
It doesn't.
It just doesn't.
Right.
It's natural physics. It won't. So
right.
you have to shrink it so it fits. It pivots in that apex.
Mm-hmm.
And the natural progression of shrinking it is width.
Right.
If you shrink it and it's narrow, you're really going to struggle. It's going to sink on you.
Mm-hmm.
So the natural way to solve that is through width.
Right.
And now the problem is a lot of people go too wide. The problem with too wide is it becomes too directional.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a balance there that we're trying to find, and I think we're there in a sense. You know, I try and get there slowly through an evolution of design and feel, and I'm pretty happy where we ended up with.
I agree. So for me, it didn't lack the performance in the pocket. I had agility in small transitions, and what I really liked about it is the couple lefts in my mind right now is I could come off the bottom, hit a quick turn, do a quick wrap, hit the whitewash, and then it put me right back in the spot again. And for me, it was a pretty unusual feeling. So when you ride other boards, you don't even know that that's possible to do it that fast. And I know this is probably really cool from a surfer's perspective, and you can relate to what I'm saying, but it's probably even cooler from a shaper's perspective to get a feedback from, it's not what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
Because that's how I started with judging it being not critical, but just like, I surf a lot of boards.
And that width equates to something. So until it translates to a feel in your mind, you know what you think it's going to feel.
Right.
And the cool, fun part is that it surprised you with some performance elements that you might not have thought was there through feel.
Yep.
And I like to think that as a whole, you know, that that's my challenge as a board builder and designer. I try and trim the fat. I mean, to me, if it's excess and it's not needed, it equates to the senseless swing weight. It's just extra weight on the board that's not needed, slowing your reaction time down, slowing your pivot down, slowing your projection down, slowing your acceleration down.
Yep.
It's just not needed.
I agree.
So I mean, and I hope you're feeling that.
Absolutely. So we pull the board down. We're going to look at foil because you mentioned trimming the fat, stuff that's not necessary. Let's talk about foil on this because I have some things to say about it, but why don't you talk first?
Geez, foil. I mean, it's just bringing a modern feel and a modern aesthetics to something that might be a little retro. I mean, you know, they're wide, they're fat, they're flat, and sometimes they just don't look so appealing on the eye. So I try to add, you know, the modern foils and thin it out a little. I mean, I like sitting on sleek, sexy boards, and I don't really want to see a whole lot of bulk if it's not needed. And if that bulk translates to slowing me down in swing weight, that's also not needed. I try and eliminate that through feel. And I try and put the foam where it's needed, and if it offers a element of design, of performance to it, great. If not, there's no need for it to be in design, and that's just my personal feel.
Sure. So going along with what you said, riding the board, because it's foiled out very nicely in the nose, especially when I was riding it, when I lay on it, it feels like I'm laying on a high-performance shortboard that's a bit wide, right? So it is very nicely tapered up there, and it's unlike any other 5.3 fish category that I've ridden to date.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And that's the goal. I want it to look different. I want it to feel different, and I don't want any excess on there. Like I said, hopefully when they see you surfing it and they see how it performs for you, it's working with you, not against you. In most elements you're trying to do, whether it's the speed, the pivot, the projection. You know, I mean, we're trying to. This is modern day surfing.
Right.
You want to get the most of what you want out of it, and there's no reason why your equipment shouldn't come along with you nowadays. And I take it as a challenge to try and build those elements in the board, even though it's a retro design, by giving it modern elements.
I agree.
Whether it's the foil, whether it's a concave, whether it's the fin placement.
Right. I think too, for me, the agility and the quickness and the projection and speed. The whole board as a package for me, when I look at the footage, I'm very pleased with the way the board was performing. The other thing I want to talk about is how engaged the rails were. I felt like I could get release when I wanted release. I could get it to drift, or I could get it to stick a solid bottom turn into a quick wrap, right into a rebound, right into another top turn. And I'm really feeling the benefits of the way you're talking about the way you design in a small little package at 5'3".
I think that's because it's less bulk.
Right.
The rails are less bulky. The rails are less round. So you're able to penetrate the water when you want to on a platform that's usually not allowing it because of the width and the volume. You know, those rails are really usually round, which is forgiving, but when you set it on a forgiving rail, it tends to shoot you directional rather than work with you. So I like to think we put a lot of elements in for us to allow what we want to get out of it. And you might not be able to see it, but hopefully you feel it. And because it's not ultimately easily visible, but you could feel it easily, and that's
absolutely
it shows in the clips. You know, I see it. It looks fun. It looks refreshing. It looks like you're having a good time, and it looks inspiring. Where it makes people want to surf.
Sure.
And it looks like you're enjoying yourself. And
on small waves.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
On a wave this big, is
right.
to extrapolate everything from start to finish out of it without losing speed, gaining speed through turns. And after watching the footage, it looks like that's what it's doing for you, and it's pretty pleasing as a shaper.
Right.
To do that for a surfer. And as a surfer shaper, I want that feeling too.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm chasing in this design.
Absolutely.
When I ride it. So it's fun to share that with other people and then to bounce off of you and to hear that that's what it's doing for you. I like hearing that because it's not just you, it's the other people I build these boards for too. My friend 6'4", he's getting the same sensation. So
sure.
It's fun.
Well done, man. Good stuff. So as we get into fins, I want to talk about speed. I want to talk about drive and projection. But one of the things when I look at the footage and I study it, this is a PU. The board's really light, 1 to 2, 1 to 3 foot surf. It's really quick. I noticed that the board has great durability. I know you did a light glass job, so I don't want to skate past that. So maybe you can touch just on maybe what kind of foam and what were your thoughts on before you sent it over?
Well, we wanted to stay consistent with what we're building and what we ride because it's what I know and what I understand. And it's an Arctic blank. It's got S cloth top and bottom, single layer. I like that light responsive package because you can feel a load, you can feel a spring, you can feel a response, and the board is working with you if it's not 2 pounds heavier in the water. I think eliminating that swing weight equates to reaction time in the water.
Absolutely.
And that's where the lightness and the speed and the crispiness is able to work with you and stay under your feet, and it almost gives the board a more of a neutral balance and sitting lower in the water as well.
Right.
So there's some elements there. I think if we go lighter, there's some magicness that comes along with it. The pop, the springiness. There's a lot of liveliness that you gain from losing some resin on the board.
Right. Now, when you sent the board, obviously out of respect for you as a shaper and surfer, I wanted to get your fins in the board and give it the closest thing to what you would design and ride yourself. So I put these in. These come just as a twin fin. There's no center pivot fin, right? It's not a 2+1 setup. It's just a twin fin set. You also sent this little fin and you sent this little fin. So just so you know how I started, I put your fins in and I went here. Board's really fast. This had some stability, but I still felt like it was maybe a little bit too playful at first, where I was like getting a lot of slide, release. Yeah. Sure. Which is fun. Don't get me wrong. In 1 to 2 foot surf, I want to be a little bit out of control. It keeps it exciting.
Sure.
So that's how I started. So maybe you can speak to your fins here and these two right here.
Well, once again, it's just stability. It's offering a feel for people for customers and that are afraid that this setup is just too loose, which it really is. I mean, a twin fin is on this platform. It's a lot of speed. It's low rocker, wide. It's just a lot of speed there. So I'm trying to offer ways for them to stabilize the board if it's too borderline loose for them. And whether it's a trailing fin that's going to offer you a cluster feel, or the trailer fin in the back with some separation for some stability or drive. I just wanted them to be able to personalize the board for their feel. Right. And whether it's through a twin fin 2+1, a bigger trailer, or even running a thruster template in there, it's really personalized for the surfer to find the setup they want. Because the platform itself is easy to ride. It's fun, it's loose, it's free. Here's your stabilizing factor. And there's no limit to what you can put here. You can run the bigger ones like the T1 or the EN. to build your stability there,
right,
and not have to run a trailer. So there's 3 to 5 different feels there, and for the surfer, in case, you know, say Oceanside where it gets that small, you can rip everything out and just run a twin.
Right.
You know, and you need a little more stability, you can pop in the trailer. So
right.
I just thought it was fun to really give the surfer the personalization they want. And even my friends at home, I tell them, put a fin key in your pocket, and put the fin in your pocket sometimes, and just play with it in the water.
Right. Right. Now for me, I started here, I talked about that. Where I ended up was, this is the T1 trailer. So a little bit more traction, a little bit more stability. Once I started to get this dialed, now I felt like I could drive this board off my back foot, which was really cool, and that's pretty typical for me. I had good traction. The tail was nice and free when I wanted it to, could do reverse here and there, had a lot of fun. Then I felt like I left the fin set up and I could surf it more neutral. And now I'm really focusing on driving through my turns, and I'm more of a back-footed neutral foot surfer. But one thing that happened with this board that I don't think I've ever done before is I surfed it a lot off the front foot. I left this and got used to it. Then I started to drive a little bit more through my front foot, pushing down in those tight transitions. And you know how I know that? My front leg was so sore, like I'd been doing squats for a week. And I'm thinking, I never have that feeling when I surf regular boards in my regular stance and posture.
Because it's engaging that front foot, right?
Right.
It's allowing you to push and pivot down there, where a lot of boards aren't really allowing that.
Right.
So.
And I also felt like my center of gravity was a lot lower, because I'm surfing small waves and I'm looking to maximize speed and transition and all that stuff. And at times I felt like I was riding a skateboard, and I really had this freedom to just be creative.
Well, I like to think that I tell people, all my friends, this is a skateboard with loose trucks. If you grew up in that era and that sensation, you like that sensation. The lip is your culping.
Right.
And you slide. That's why with the twin fin setup, you can slide across the
Sure.
top, and then it re-engages and finds
Sick.
its footing. But it's just a fun platform.
So let's look at some waves together. I wanted you to see it from the paddle. It's got great get up and go speed. I come off the bottom, hit this top turn real quick. I kind of get hung up. I'm behind, I catch back up, nice little projection floater, and I'm gonna finish it strong. This little left's really fun. I like the transition from turn to turn, even in a really small wave. Hit that quick rebound, right back into the pocket again. This board is effortless to gain speed, and it has great flow. Nice little turn right there, off the bottom, top turn, lots of spray. Finishing it with a little tail release right there. Look at this wave. Actually wiping speed off when I went to the bottom just to hit this turn right where I wanted to. This board's so quick in and out of turns. Look at this right, it's got a little bit of texture. I'm gaining speed by projecting off these floaters just to get down the line. Now this last little left, quick top turn. I really feel like the board's gaining speed in these turns with very little effort, and watch this little turn's got a little bit of flair to it. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed today's review on the 5'3" Akila Aipa fish. Akila, thanks for breaking the board down for me, and you really opened my eyes to a different feel and performance with the white tail. I was pleasantly surprised.
Cool, I'm happy you are.
Yeah, and I think the best way for people to get in touch with you if they want to order something custom, maybe direct message you on Instagram?
Sure, no problem.
Right, and for me, it was a great conversation. He knew my skill level. We talked about where I was surfing, what kind of board he wanted to design for me, and we collaborated, and I believe you made something magical. This is a favorite for 2019. If you guys like the show, subscribe. You can also find us at surfandshow.com. Until next time, we'll see you in the water. Bye-bye.
Aloha.
'Cause you wanna be the star. You wanna be the star. You wanna be the star of something new. Can I talk about how we began? This little baby's trying to understand. So much life and love, so many plans. Blind our eyes and tear our heart in two. But oh, don't go running off so soon. So oh, so much to love, so much to do. Oh, we're only speaking 'cause we care about you. wanna be the star? Do you wanna be the star of something new? Don't go on to speaking out in tongues, reaching for something you haven't done.